ex-girlfriend where you're like, you tariff me, I'm gonna tariff you, I'm gonna hit you where it hurts almost if, China is big on.
The tariffs were going to hit, and the White House put out that China would get hit with a 10% tariff, Mexico would get hit with a 25% tariff, and Canada would get hit with a 25% tariff, but only a 10% tariff on oil or energy. Walmart and Target are about the same. They are importing somewhere between 70 and 80% of their goods from China.
Today's episode is brought to you by Security Financial Management.
Welcome back to Best Advice Podcast, guys. I'm your host, Rob Lovaglio. Here as always with Mitch Allen, a partner here at Security Financial Management. Mitch, what's cracking, baby?
Well, we've had a very busy couple of weeks here and lots to talk about today in the finance world.
It's a big day. It's a big day.
Well then, good day, mate.
Been a big few days.
It is February 3rd, about 11:30 in the morning. We've had a lot of noise over here, so we're going to get right to it. We do like to start each episode with the powerful practice of positive thinking. We like to call this, give me something big. Today's going to be short and sweet because we do have a lot to talk about. This is interesting, though, that to me, did you know that 90% of your thoughts are the same thoughts you had the day before?
I didn't know that.
So it's like a domino effect, right?
It keeps coming.
Yeah, there you go, Wednesday. So it's the whole affirmation thing, right? So if you were thinking 90% of what you thought about is what you're thinking about today, you better get your affirmations right if you're thinking negative, right?
You got to go positive. Better be positive. That's not a good thing in a negativity.
The negativity is insane.
Let's get to the question of the day. Today's question comes from Bella from St. Cloud. Bella, what you got for us?
Hey Rob, love the show. Tariffs are a big topic at my branch, and I'm looking for any thoughts or updates on what tariffs are and if their impact is as intense as I'm hearing.
Thank you, Bella. Tariffs have been big. Mitch, what is a tariff?
Well, Rob, we've had tariffs on and off for many years, but right now we're talking about some big tariffs. But what is a tariff? A tariff is really a tax on all goods that would be imported into the United States. So, for example, Walmart wants to import televisions from Mexico. What they do is when it comes across the border, the U.S. customs agents check the load, make sure it's televisions, and they then say, okay, you've got $1 million worth of televisions, and then they will put a 25% tariff or tax on that $1 million worth of televisions. The importer pays that tariff or tax. So now it's 25% on top of $1 million, or the new cost of goods is $1,250,000. That then gets either passed on directly to Walmart or whomever's going to buy the TVs. And in most cases, Walmart usually buys direct because they're so big. But if they're not big corporations like that, there are brokers. They buy it, the brokers bring them in, the brokers pay the tax, tariffs, tax. They pass it on to the company, and then the company has to decide how much they pass on to their consumer. Because again, they have to look at their profits. Their cost has now gone up 25%. So they've got to decide, are we going to pass on 15? Are we going to pass on 10? If they only pass on a portion of it, it does hurt their profits. If they pass it all on, they've got to add a little more to keep the same profit. So
it feels a little bit like it's like an ex-girlfriend or a mean ex-girlfriend where you're like, you tariff me, I'm going to tariff you. I'm going to hit you where it hurts almost. If, China is big on X, then we're going to tariff them on X because they tariff us on Y a little bit, right? There's a lot of wars that start over tariff.
There are tariff wars, and you're correct when you say that, because usually what happens if the United States puts a tariff, then the country we're putting a tariff on, they're going to come back with a tariff. So it is a tariff war. It goes back and forth, and hopefully this will get settled. And as you know, over the weekend on Saturday, it was announced that at midnight tonight, February 3rd, 2025, from CNBC and many other sources, the tariffs were going to hit, and the White House put out that China would get hit with a 10% tariff, Mexico would get hit with a 25% tariff, and Canada will get hit with a 25% tariff, but only a 10% tariff on oil or energy. That really, really spooked the market. Lots of things going on. Many ways the U.S. economy could be affected. Many ways the international markets could be affected, and different countries. So this is extremely, extremely important and on the top of everybody's mind. The European market, Asian markets are hours ahead of us, 5, 6 hours, Asia even further ahead. And almost every single stock market worldwide saw some major, major losses overnight. Our markets have just opened. The futures this morning, though, the S&P futures were down 100 points. The Dow was down 636 points, and the NASDAQ was down 386 points. But actually up on my computer now, I've got some breaking news that's just coming in, Rob. It's just been announced that Mexican tariffs now have been delayed 1 month, 30 days. So the tariffs on Mexico have been delayed 30 days to Mexico. So far to Mexico, yes. We understand there's going to be a conference this afternoon with Canada and the U.S. government at 3 p.m. So Canada and the U.S. are going to be speaking at 3 this afternoon on, I guess, Canada. But right now, breaking is Mexico said that they'd have 10,000 troops at their border to try to control some of the border issues that are going on down there. So they've now decided, the U.S. is now delaying tariffs on Mexico. Also in this is China. They have a 10% tariff coming at midnight tonight. No news on China at all. Mexico, it's just breaking, announced that we will delay it a month on their tariffs. Canada has a 3 o'clock this afternoon, and nothing on China as of now, but that's going to be a 10% tariff. And we can see the markets are starting to react nicely. As we said earlier, the S&P futures, they were down about 100. The Dow was down 636 and the NASDAQ 386. As of now, around 11:30 February 3rd, on the CNBC website and Yahoo Finance, the S&P now is not, it went from down 100 to 34. The Dow went from 636. It's now down only 52. And the NASDAQ, which was down 386, it's still up high. It's still up about 214 or 1%. And a lot of that is our big tech companies are still seeing some big drops.
Drop it.
Tesla currently, again, these move all the time. No guarantee future results. And this is right off of Yahoo Finance. They're down about $19 or almost 5%. Apple's down about $9 a share. Amazon down just a little. So we can see the techs are still seeing some losses. But what's really important is we have to remember not to make these knee-jerk reactions. That would be our summary later, which we'll talk about. But what is imported? What are some of the big companies in the U.S.? What are their import totals to the United States? What do we do? So, for example, Walmart imports between 70 and 80% from China, according to the Alliance for American Manufacturing. Target and Amazon, according to the Alliance for American Manufacturing as well, they also are around that 70 to 80%, and Amazon comes in at just 70%. Also, on the Mexico tariffs, according to CNBC, between 2020 and 2021, 69% of all vegetables sold in the United States are grown and imported from Mexico. I saw this morning on CNBC that there are miles and miles of tomato farms actually owned by Costco in Mexico.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and in addition to that, according to CNBC 20 to 2021, 51% of all of our fruits and nuts come from Mexico as well, importing. So their weather's a little better. This afternoon, we'll learn what's going to happen between the U.S. and Canada. And so far, nothing for China. And again, we do know that Walmart, Target, and Amazon are somewhere between 70 and 80% of all their products from China. That is a 10% proposed tariff because they are supposed to go into effect at midnight tonight. Again, there's a lot of hours until we get to midnight, about 12 and a half hours or so from now. A lot can happen, as we saw just now, this breaking news of Mexico. So that's where we are. So really the best advice, have an advisor, talk to your advisor, and try not to make knee-jerk reactions. We have seen so many things happen, especially over the last couple of weeks, ups and downs, but we've seen this year after year with news, any kind of news, not just tariffs, but any kind of news that comes out. Lots of people react. We're now on social media these days, and we've got internet and we've got cable news that's on 24 hours a day. People can watch that and react immediately. Prior to all of our social media, you'd get your newspaper sometimes either at 7 in the morning and read it, or you'd get it in the afternoon at 4 in the afternoon and read it. And unless you called a stockbroker, you really had no idea what was going on with the markets up and down every second of the day that they were open. So just remember, advisors are here for you. We try to really analyze what's happening with the market. We try to see what's behind it. We try to look at your asset allocation. This is all really important for you as a consumer, as an investor. Try not to panic right away. We can see what happened in 2 hours, how much the markets have turned around on just Mexico being delayed a month. And again, who's to say it comes back in a month and we have another issue? We could see things turn around. But again, there's no guarantees what can happen. This is what's happening at 11:30 in the morning. By 4 o'clock this afternoon, the markets could be up, the markets could be down. We don't know. It is a very moving target out there.
Absolutely. I hope that helps, Bella. And if you want to have a conversation with Mitch one-on-one, I'm going to leave a link in the description for you, and he'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you about all of this. Remember, folks, secret to wealth is not what you earn, it's what you keep. Happy days, everybody.
This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only and is not intended as personal financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please do your own research and consult a financial advisor as needed.